Prepare to be captivated by the business story of the week, hosted by me, Shaheen Shan. Join us on a journey through the twists and turns of entrepreneurial triumphs and setbacks. Immerse yourself in the narrative and witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. This is Business Story of the Week.
And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Business Story of the Week. I am your host, Joshua. And have you heard of college hunks hauling junk and moving? Because if you haven't, this is the first time you probably heard of that. If not, then we have got quite the guest for you. Nick Friedman is the renowned entrepreneur behind the idea of college hunks hauling junks and moving. He is, you know, in addition to being a movie and TV producer, he is a best-selling author, speaker, actor, TV personality, you name it. With his friend, college friend, he started this whole TV show, or this concept behind in a beat up cargo van, and today this franchise has turned into a worldwide phenomenon and does over $300 million in annual sales. We're going to get into that today, along with his business partner, Omar Soliman. Nick published the best selling book, Effortless Entrepreneur. We are also going to talk about that today. And also co produce the award winning Netflix documentary, Beware of Mr. Baker. More recently, Nick executive produced and acted in the biopic movie about Jeff Bezos, the first movie about the wealthiest man in the universe. Nick also appeared on numerous unscripted reality TV programs, including the very first episode of ABC's Shark Tank, Bravo's Millionaire Matchmaker, AMC's The Peach. There's a lot to name here. We are going to get into all of that. Most recently, Nick Friedman was named Entrepreneur of the Year by International Franchise Association. And Nick, this is quite the story we are going to get into today. Thank you for being on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you. I have to say, my mom wrote my bio, so it was a little bit lengthy. And thank you for sharing some of the accolades along the way.
That's fine. Our mothers, they will make sure that everything is mentioned on there. So, absolutely fine, completely. We need to get right into this because we need to start talking about college hunks, hauling junk, and moving, and turning this into a 200, 300, what is that? $300 million worldwide franchise. How did it begin? How did it start? Did you know as a child you were always going to be a college hunk hauling junk? And what did your mother have to say about it?
Yes. Well, I don't think very many kids grow up saying, I want to start a moving or hauling business when I grow up. And I was no exception to that. Uh, I was brought up to follow the more traditional career path, to work hard in school, get into college, get a degree, and get a job. And it was actually the summer before my senior year of college. My best friend's mom, another mom, had a beat up cargo van from her furniture store. And she said, why don't you guys go do something with the van? You can move people's furniture. You guys could be like college hunks who haul junk. And we just laughed about it at first. And then we said, you know what, that's got a catchy ring to it. So we made flyers. We stuck them in mailboxes. People had a need for the service. They thought the name was catchy. And so that was when the first light bulb moment was for me that, hey, there could be a business opportunity here. We decided to start the business full time after we graduated from college. And there were a lot of doubters. People were like, you're going to do what? Haul junk or move furniture? And it's going to be called College Hunks. Are you crazy? So we used that as a little bit as motivation. And I always, Joshua, I always tell the story when we started, we were doing all of the work ourselves, driving the trucks, answering the phones, hauling the junk. We went and bought an 800 number to try to make ourselves look bigger. We put it on the back of the truck, but it was still routed to my cell phone. So people would call to complain about driving, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, well, we'll fire those guys when they get back to the office. Thank you for reporting that to us. And probably fired ourselves 3 to 4 times that summer. But that's how it started. It's been a long, 20-year overnight success since then. But that's really how the business originated.
And what a way to put it, 20-year overnight success. And don't we all have our mothers to thank for that? So thank you to Nick's mother, to Omar's mother, to starting it all up. But also, I mean, first of all, that name is really catchy, College Hunks. That'll never. It's memorable. I don't think people will forget it.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a tongue twister. So, it's hard to say the whole thing. It's pretty long and lengthy. So
Yeah,
we're kind of breaking some rules of business name in that regard. But to your point,
yeah,
it's catchy, it's memorable, it stands out, and
yeah,
we didn't create something new like Facebook or TikTok. We took trucks, we took labor, and we put a very creative image on the exterior and a very intentional focus on the client experience, the team member
wow,
experience, and now our franchise owner experience as well. And I think that's really been the secret sauce. So the name has certainly been a part of standing out and creating a brand that's different in a very crowded industry.
absolutely. And like I was about to say, it's the very effective branding. Like people would say, like, "What are you doing? You gonna haul junk?" The fact that they were actually kind of hating on that, or the fact that they were kind of like discouraging you on that, is already memorable in itself, right? And that I feel like truly contributed to your overnight success, quote unquote. But now we're moving that into what you've turned this into a massive multi-million dollar franchise, 250 locations worldwide. How did that happen? How do you expand this to such a big, beat up cargo van to now massive
Yes.
worldwide locations? Why? How did you do it?
Well, I would say we always had a lofty vision and big ambition. That's, as I gave the example, we went and bought an 800 number, even though we didn't have a call center. We just had one truck, but we wanted to always look bigger. You hear
Mhm.
that old mantra, fake it till you make it. I think we were doing that. And we were doing all of the work ourselves and we started to burn out. And one of our mentors recommended that we read a book by a guy named Michael Gerber. It was called The E Myth Revisited. And it's really
Right.
all about working on the business, not just in the business. And so that was like the
There you
next
go.
light bulb moment for us is, hey, if
Yeah.
we're ever going to have another truck, let alone another location, we got to
Mhm.
start documenting how we do everything. How do we wear the uniform? How do we greet the clients? How do we answer the phone so that
Yes.
we can eventually train people to do that? And that introduced us to this concept of franchising. Now, I will say when
There
we
you
first
go.
heard about franchising, we had maybe a more glamorized, simplified, maybe naive view about what it was going to be like. We thought, hey, well, this will maybe be easier to grow than trying to do it all of ourselves. And there is some truth to the fact that it's leveraging other people's effort and investment, but it's not easy. It's a very slow,
Harsh.
methodical growth strategy. And so we were no longer in the moving and hauling business. We were also in the franchising business. And so once we moved into that space, that's where, attracting great people to come work in our organization, attracting great franchise owners who wanted to bring the brand into another market. All of those things started to compound on each other and sort of brick
True.
by brick, the momentum would pick up. And here we are, as I like to say, 20 years later, looking back saying, wow, what a journey and look how far we've come.
And truly, what a journey it is. It's such a relatable journey too, right? Because our audience and listeners are a mix of startup entrepreneurs, like business owners and all that. And this journey is quite relatable in the sense that, again, it's an overnight success that took 20 years, right? But you started off very small. You started thinking bigger. You started operating on the business, and now you're operating with that mindset that allowed you guys to truly expand. And my understanding is this is quite the journey and the inspiration now behind the best selling book that you have right there behind you, Effortless Entrepreneur. um, Talk to us about that because a lot of this feels almost effortless, right? And we've been kidding about the 20-year overnight success, but truly it isn't. But the effort feels like it almost like came, naturally, soon as you change that mindset. So talk to us about the key insights in the book and what are the things that you'd like to impart to aspiring entrepreneurs through that book.
Yes, well, you kind of hit it on the head. It appears effortless, but in reality, there is nothing truly effortless about entrepreneurship. It takes a lot of grit, a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting mentally and physically in our case. And we were at a conference because we became lifelong learners as soon as we started down this entrepreneurial journey, listening to podcasts like this or going to conferences. And one of the speakers at the conference says, anybody who's ever written a book always says they wish they wrote it 10 years ago. So, think about what you'd like to share with the world and start sharing. And so we went to the bar and we said, I guess we got to write a book. And so we said, what is it we wish we knew in high school and college that we now know, having been in business for a few years, like in the middle of the fire? And so we wrote it, at the time we were in our 20s, we were, single bachelors. So we wrote it with a little bit of an edge. I would probably have toned that down if I were to write it again today, but it still has a lot of a lot of relevance that I think are still universal when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Yeah. And we came up with this notion of effortless because if you look at, the best athletes, the best musicians, the best artists, they put so much time and effort and hard work into developing their craft to the point when they're out performing, it appears just effortless because they're in this flow state of execution. And I think that's the approach to entrepreneurship. You have to be in behind the scenes, beneath the surface. You've got to be doing so much to try to build the brand and build the business. But ultimately, when people are looking at it from the outside, it's going to appear effortless, which you ultimately achieve.
Wow. And that's a great way to put it, because you also said that when it comes to having patience, right? Have patience for results and an urgency of effort. I love that, because you also said no matter where you are today, you're I'm trying to pull that up right now. It says here, there you go. Have patience for result and urgency of effort. I love that first line. No matter where you are today, your vision and persistence can create extraordinary opportunities, not just for you, but for your community and ultimately the world. And Nick, I must say that this is particularly relevant to me, relevant to what I am going through right now. And it's a long road. It really is a long road, and it must start to feel like, man, where's this gonna go, right? And you want results fast. You want those efforts to go somewhere, but at the same time, having that patience is important. But I love that you said that there needs to be an urgency of effort, and I feel like that really plays into what you just talked about right now, where you're putting all that effort in, behind the scenes or in the surface as well, and kind of like bringing that to the forefront now of where you guys are at in college hunks, hauling junk and moving. I love it. Nick, is there anything in your journey that you would absolutely change throughout it? Anything that you would wish you would have done sooner? You wish you would have done right?
I think I wish I would have taken my own advice about being patient for the results, because, man, you can be so hard on yourself as an entrepreneur when you're on those, especially the early days, the early journey. There's a tolerance of pain and willingness to just kind of keep pushing forward, even when your own doubt comes into play, or maybe when the market isn't adopting your brand or your service as quickly as you would hope. And so it's a mental challenge and struggle. And that's why I always say, having that combination of urgency of effort, you've got to be somewhat relentless about your vision and trying to see it through. But know that it's not going to happen overnight. You can't go to the gym and see immediate results. And, in fitness, you could probably see results a lot faster than in business. In business, it in many cases takes years of compound effort and execution and micro adjustments. In fitness, you could go to work out for, 2-3 months and you'll see real results. And so I think we live in a world where we, all, especially more so now than ever, expect some of this instant gratification. Yes. The information is at our fingertips. Everybody is showing their best life on social media, so it makes us compare how we're doing relative to what that flashiness looks like. Mm-hmm. And I think that can, psychologically create some demoralization. And so I think the advice I would give myself is just the same advice I give other entrepreneurs wherever they might be in their journey, is that if you're passionate about the vision, about what you're looking to create and the impact that it has, don't let that, the short-term setbacks or the fact that it's taking longer than you had hoped deter you. I rarely have, I don't think I've ever found an entrepreneur who says, hey, yeah, I made more money faster than I ever expected to, or I was more successful more quickly, right? But we get into entrepreneurship because we're optimistic, because we believe in ourselves and our
Of
idea,
course.
but we also have to be recognize that it's not going to happen right away, and it's not linear. Ideally, you want to be trending upwards over time, although there's going to be temporary setbacks along the way. And so it's very much a mental game as much as it is, execution and X's and O's.
And that's definitely is the mindset of an entrepreneur, right? You need to have that certain kind of mindset. You need to have that kind of certain craze, really, to pursue something relentlessly. Like you said, pursue that vision. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, Jeff Bezos, obviously, who's kind of the modern entrepreneurial success story, his company name before he changed it to Amazon was relentless.com. And actually, if you go to that domain, it still forwards to the Amazon website, believe it or not. So, he had and you want to talk about patience for results. Amazon didn't become profitable for over
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
He was raising money, but he knew that it was going to turn profitable at some point. So obviously their valuations kept going up and so forth. So he had some indications of progress, but still, he was, the classic relentless entrepreneur that believed in his vision and was going to be patient to see it now be one of the biggest companies in the world.
Relentless.com. I have never heard of that. Honestly, I mean, I knew everything that you just said, but I never knew of the first name of Relentless.com. And what a transition, by the way, to what we're about to touch up a little bit just right now. You ventured into producing an award-winning documentaries, and you acted in the biopic about Jeff Bezos. You, you, you look quite like the man himself. Were you in the part of Mr. Bezos himself? But talk to us a bit about that. Talk to us about your Hollywood production experience and the relentless pursuit that you also included in that kind of career. Talk to us about that.
Yes. So, look, some people run marathons or biathlons or climb mountains as a hobby or as a pursuit of passion. And those things never appealed to me, but I have a creative itch I wanted to scratch. I always wanted to be part of a movie. I had done some reality television, like you mentioned, Shark Tank and Undercover Boss.
Mhm.
And so I have a friend of mine who makes movies. He's actually one of the owners of the Tampa Yankees minor league baseball team, but he also makes movies as a business. And they're mid to lower budget movies, but he always gets a very recognizable name that he will attach to the movie. And in this particular case, he approached me because he knew I had done some unscripted television. And he said, I've got a script, the first movie ever made to be made about Jeff Bezos and how he started Amazon. You're an entrepreneur. I think it's going to be inspirational for you and anybody who sees it. So I read the script and I said, I'd love to be involved. He said, do you want to produce? Do you want to act? And I said, how about both? And so the role I played was Shel Caffin, who was the first employee who Jeff Bezos hired to come work in the garage as a programmer back in the early days. And, it learned a lot about Jeff Bezos. I could certainly relate to the startup story. Obviously, I always joke there's a few zeros missing from my balance sheet compared to his and my, profit and loss statement compared to Amazon's today. But nevertheless, it's a universal entrepreneurial story and journey that any entrepreneur can relate to. And so it was fun to be a part of. It was fun to see the movie making process and to see myself in it. Obviously, was a fun thing. And it's sort of an evergreen topic. Anybody who ever wants to, perhaps watch a movie about how Amazon started, they could look it up online, or they could go watch the Bezos the Beginning movie, which is on all the streaming platforms. Apple, Amazon, of course. And it's coming to Roku and some others. So yeah, that was a fun experience. I would call it a side quest, kind of a creative journey for me. Not my primary business, not my primary focus. I think also as entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to get distracted easily. So I've had to rein myself back into my core business. But I was kind of a bucket list thing. I was glad I did it.
I mean, of course, what an honor also to meet your hero and make a movie about him. And again, you a few zeros off, but same 20-year relentless journey. How about that? Very similar in that sense
That's
that
right.
you guys never stop. You guys use the same word. You guys have the same resiliency. And here you are today talking to us, being named recently Entrepreneur of the Year is quite a significant achievement. How has this recognition impacted your journey and your future aspirations in entrepreneurship and media production? What does the future look like for Nick Friedman?
Yeah, so the Entrepreneur of the Year award from the International Franchise Association, it was very humbling. It was kind of a full circle moment for me and my business partner, Omar, because we had been to the International Franchise Association conference and seen the other Hall of Fame and Entrepreneur of the Year award winners across the stage. And these were people that were very aspirational for us, people we looked up to. So for us to feel like we were now at that stage where we were being
Let's
recognized,
go.
it was sort of a lofty responsibility, and like I said, sort of coming full circle for us. But now we get to, I think, help inspire, teach,
Yes.
share our learnings with this next generation of entrepreneurs, next generation of franchisors, and make sure that our story can be one that's inspiring, informative, and actionable for people. So what's next? We want to continue to build our College Hunks platform. I'm a big believer in maximizing
Wow.
potential, maximizing my own personal, professional potential as an individual, maximizing the potential of my team, and of course, maximizing the potential of this great brand. And that may be at some point also spinning off into other brands, other sectors that we can leverage our platform for. But I think there's still a lot of runway left with College Hunks, so I don't want to become complacent there, or take the momentum out of that sale and try to put it into something else. I want to stay focused and kind of double down and let that compound.
Of course, and of course, with that kind of visionist persistence, maybe you could add a few more zeros into that. Let's like Mr. Bezos. You don't
Exactly.
want to waste that, right? But again, I love what you said that this kind of vision of yours is not only for you, but the people you bring along with you, and that is speaks to me. That's very relevant to me right now. I want to bring along people with me, not because it's more fulfilling that way. I also knowing seeing that there are people who have the same persistence. You're just taking them along for the ride, and you know, uh, going big with them, basically. Um, Nick, it's been quite a ride, and for you as well and your partner. You told us your future. You told us, your past. You told us your present right now. Before I start letting you go, talk to us. Where can we find you? Where can we connect with you? Where can we find the latest with College Hunks? And of course, your newest shows and your media production. I'm sure you're not going to let that go. Let us know where we can stay updated on Nick Friedman.
Absolutely. So my social media is Nick Friedman and the number one for Instagram, Twitter. You can find me also on LinkedIn and Facebook. We created a website, nickfriedman.com, where people can watch some of the clips of our shows and some of the trailers from the movie and some information about the business and my speaking. So, and then of course, if people are interested in the College Hunks business, whether it's the franchise or the services, collegehunks.com as well. So not hard to find out there these days on the internet or social media, and happy to connect and help share the story, to your point.
And I am, of course, giving you a follow right now on Instagram, and I invite our audience and listeners to do the same. Check out, of course, everything that we mentioned. Check out that biopic by, about Jeff Bezos. Check out Shark Tank episode. I want to go back and look for that, by the way. And also, I know how I missed this. You were on Undercover Boss. We love that show. I used to love watching that with my mother. I'm gonna make sure we I go back on that. Watch it in the memory of my mother. And Nick, again, thank you to your mothers. Thank you to Omar's mother, and thank you to your relentless effort all these years coming up, bringing people along with you. Is there one final message you would like to give our audience and listeners?
Our company purpose at College Hunks is to move the world. It's kind of a double meaning, move people emotionally, but obviously, of course, we're a moving company, but we want to make a positive impact. And it doesn't have to be some momentous thing. And I think that your listeners could have the same takeaway is, all it takes is one match to ignite a candle, and that candle can ignite many other candles, and that's what creates a movement. Omar's mom lit that match, that spark for us when she let us use the cargo van and gave us a catchy name, and we took that candle and have shared that now with thousands upon thousands of franchise owners, team members, and clients. And so I encourage the listeners to do the same.
Fantastic. And Nick, it has been great. It's been a great story. I love everything about this story. I love the name. I love the path that you've taken. I love the side quest that you've taken. And I'm sure our audience and listeners relate very much to the journey that you've shared and embarked with us today. And I just appreciate all the insight. Nick, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Fantastic. To all our audience and listeners out there. See you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.